Ever get that feeling like someone's trying to, I don't know, nudge you towards a decision?
Oh, yeah.
Like you're not quite sure why, but suddenly you're agreeing to something you hadn't planned on.
Happened all the time.
Well, today we're diving deep into that world, the world of persuasion and influence, or as some might call it, mind control.
Mind control. Whoa, sounds intense.
Right. We've got excerpts from this guide, and it's really something. The title alone, it's like the ultimate formula for mind control, and it's got everything. NLP, body language, even covert hypnosis.
Okay, now I'm really interested.
Yeah, so we had to unpack this, but before you start picturing, hypnotists with swinging pocket watches...
Yeah, let's not get carried away.
It's not quite that outlandish, thankfully.
I should hope not.
But the author, he starts by sharing his own story about struggling in sales. He could talk for hours about a product, but closing a deal, forget it.
Oh, I've been there.
Right. So he was stuck until he stumbled upon this whole concept of, get this, the subconscious mind.
The subconscious. Okay, now we're getting somewhere.
It's like he cracked a secret code or something.
Yeah.
He argues everyone has this subconscious, right? It's like a hidden flash memory that's actually driving our behaviors behind the scenes, totally under the radar.
Interesting. So what? He thinks he can control that?
That's exactly what he claims. He says he knows how to tap into it, how to bypass our conscious minds entirely to get us to do, well, whatever he wants, basically.
And that's a bold claim. I've got to hear this.
Yeah, and he lays out this whole framework, 7 basic human instincts. It's like a cheat sheet for understanding what makes people tick.
Okay, I'm all ears. What kind of instincts are we talking about here?
Well, one that really jumped out at me, and it makes total sense when you think about it, is this idea that everybody, and I mean everybody, craves belonging.
Belonging, right.
We want to be a part of a group, a tribe, whatever you want to call it. And he says this desire, this need to belong, it influences our decisions way more than we might realize.
Absolutely. We see that everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Marketing, social media, even just in our everyday lives. People want to fit in.
Exactly. And he gives this fascinating example. Let me see if I can find it. And it doesn't stop there. This guy, he goes deep into how even the tiniest cues can be persuasive, like crazy persuasive.
Okay, like what are we talking about here?
Okay, so have you ever noticed how when someone uses your name, it's like they've got your attention,
Yeah, I mean, it's common courtesy, right?
Yeah. Sure, but it's more than that. It's like a secret weapon, and this author, he's got it all figured out.
All right, you've got to tell me more. I'm hooked.
He says our names. They're like deeply connected to our sense of self, our identity. So when we hear it, boom, it triggers this little dopamine rush, making us more receptive to whatever comes next.
Interesting. It's like a little subconscious hello that makes us want to engage.
Exactly. And it's not just names, even the way we carry ourselves, how we present ourselves to the world. He dives into this whole alpha persona thing, claims that projecting confidence, even through just our posture and eye contact, can give us a leg up, a subconscious edge in any interaction.
The alpha persona, it sounds a little, I don't know, manipulative, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's something out of a pickup artist handbook.
I know, right? But what I found interesting is how he breaks it down, this alpha image. It's not just about being some kind of dominant presence. It's about these really specific things you can do, like maintaining strong eye contact, not fidgeting, speaking at a moderate pace, even how you sit. It's like a crash course in nonverbal communication with the goal of, you guessed it, maximizing your influence.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all fits together. It's like a toolkit for subtly influencing people's perceptions of you.
Exactly. He argues that people are naturally drawn to those who seem confident, in control, He even gets into these zones like personal space, the subtle dance of distance we keep in conversations.
Oh yeah, the invisible bubbles we carry around us.
Exactly. He calls them the sensitive area, the personal area, the social area, and the public area. And each zone, he says, has different rules for engagement. Like when you're crammed into a packed elevator and everyone just gets that instinct to create a little space.
Oh, absolutely. It's like we're hardwired to react that way, too close for comfort.
Exactly. And he connects this to power dynamics, says that whoever controls the physical space can actually have the upper hand in a negotiation.
Makes sense if you think about it. It's about establishing a sense of dominance, even if it's subconscious.
Right. He even talks about this ex-wife strategy. Have you heard of this?
The ex-wife strategy. Can't say I have.
So he says if you want to take control in a meeting, you let the other person get there first, let them settle in. That way, when you arrive, you're stepping into their space, and it subtly shifts the power dynamic in your favor.
Interesting tactic. I'll have to try that one.
He even gets into seating arrangements, like where you sit at a table, even in a casual setting, can impact the entire conversation.
Really? I never thought about it like that.
Me neither. He says, for example, sitting across from someone at a rectangular table, face to face, can actually create this confrontational vibe, while sitting side by side at a round table encourages collaboration.
Fascinating. It's all about those unspoken cues and how they influence the other person's perception.
Exactly. And speaking of understanding the other person, this guide, it's not all about manipulation and power plays. He actually emphasizes asking questions and really listening to the answers, understanding their why, so you can tailor your message for maximum impact.
That makes sense. It's not just about getting your point across, it's about connecting with the other person, understanding their perspective.
Exactly. He even outlines strategies for different personality types. Some people need all the details, the logical arguments, while others, they just want to hear a direct, results-oriented approach. It's about speaking their language, meeting them where they are.
So it's like a customized approach to persuasion based on who you're talking to.
Precisely. And that's where he introduces this really interesting concept, this thing he calls covert hypnosis.
Covert hypnosis. Okay, now this is what I'm talking about. Covert hypnosis. This is what I'm talking about.
Right. It sounds pretty intense, I know, but it's not about swinging pocket watches or making people cluck like chickens.
Oh, that's a relief.
Yeah, he's not talking about stage hypnosis or anything like that. It's more about using language in a way that sort of, bypasses the conscious mind and speaks directly to the subconscious.
Okay, I think I'm starting to see where this is going. It's about getting past those mental filters, right?
Exactly. He gives this example of embedding commands, actual commands, within seemingly innocent questions. Imagine someone saying, and I'm just paraphrasing here, have you ever thought about taking a vacation? On the surface, totally harmless, right? Just a question.
Right.
But underneath the subconscious, it picks up on that embedded command, take a vacation.
Sneaky. I like it.
Right. And he even suggests using a little confusion to distract the conscious mind, make the subconscious more susceptible to suggestion.
So you're saying a confused mind is easier to persuade?
In a way, yeah. He explains it like this. The subconscious is like a sponge, just soaking up information without filtering it, without questioning it. So if you introduce a bit of confusion, you can slip in your message without triggering those conscious defenses.
Fascinating. It's like you're creating a back door to the subconscious mind.
Exactly. And he says this can be really effective when you're dealing with, internal resistance. Let's say someone's on the fence about a decision, they're not quite sure. He suggests, instead of pushing harder, try painting a vivid picture of the negative consequences of not taking action.
Ah, so you're making the yes seem more appealing by highlighting the downsides of no. Clever.
Right. It's all about framing the choices. And here's another technique. He talks about offering multiple options, but here's the thing. All of those options, they lead to the same desired outcome.
Okay, so you're giving the illusion of choice, but you're still guiding them toward your goal. I like it.
Right. He even gives you scripts. Imagine you're trying to schedule a meeting. Instead of saying, do you want to meet? You say, would you prefer Tuesday or Thursday? Both options, they imply that you're meeting, but the person feels like they're in control because they get to pick the day.
It's brilliant, really. You're tapping into that desire for autonomy, even if it's just an illusion.
Exactly. And he's got a name for it, too. He calls it the inevitable approval strategy. Basically, you act as if the other person has already agreed, and you just start talking about the details of their yes.
Wow. That's bold.
Right. So instead of saying, are you interested in this product, you say something like, when would be the best time to deliver this to you? It's like assuming the sale is already made.
It's a bit presumptuous, but I can see how it would be effective. Especially if you could back it up with confidence.
Exactly. And he reminds us that most people, deep down, they're driven by this need to fit in. And on the flip side, this fear of missing out.
Oh, absolutely. FOMO is a powerful motivator.
Right. So he says, use that to your advantage. Maybe casually mention that everyone else is already doing it, whatever it is. Or, highlight how this decision will help them stay ahead of the curve, be part of the in-group.
It's all about tapping into those deeply ingrained social instincts.
Exactly. And it's not always about, manipulation or trickery. He also talks about the importance of genuine connection, building rapport. He suggests using flattery and compliments, but, sincerely.
Right, because people can spot a phony a mile away.
Exactly. He calls this one the name game. Remember how we talked about the power of using someone's name? He takes it a step further and says, use their name frequently, along with genuine compliments, and it creates this sense of rapport, this feeling of connection that makes them more likely to cooperate, to say yes.
It's like you're greasing the wheels of social interaction.
Exactly. It's amazing, isn't it, how much goes on beneath the surface of our everyday conversations, all these little cues and signals that we're sending and receiving without even realizing it.
It's like a whole secret language.
Yeah, right. And this deep dive into the world of persuasion, I'll tell you, it's been eye-opening, to say the least. We've uncovered how our subconscious minds work, the subtle power of language, the impact of body language, even these, I don't know, slightly unnerving techniques for, well, covert hypnosis. Maybe we should just call it strategic communication instead.
Hey, that sits a little better with me.
But the point is, there's a whole science behind influence and persuasion. And while some of these tactics might seem a little, unsettling, I think the real takeaway here is awareness. By understanding these techniques, we're not so easily swayed. We can recognize when they're being used on us and make more conscious choices about how we respond.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
Right. Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, we can even use this knowledge to become more effective communicators ourselves, but, always striving for authenticity and genuine connection.
Couldn't agree more. It's about using this knowledge responsibly.